Yay.
Yay! We are
Yay.
finally live for this behind the book talk. I'm so excited. I'm Molly Bartelt. I'm the owner of Pixology, the photo estate company. And I have Caroline Guntur here with me, a friend, a colleague for it's probably been 9, 10 years, I think. I've known you as
Mhm.
long as we've been doing it here.
Yeah.
Well, Carolyn, thank you so much for joining. I'm going to first just give you a quick introduction, and then I'll let you just say a few things too, okay?
Okay.
For those of you who don't know, I just released my sixth book on organizing and saving photos, but this time it's with a genealogy um, journey included. So it's the old photos, genealogy, and saving your family history. Caroline has been on the journey with us. We've had clients who have used her services, and she's just been a fantastic resource, not only to us, but to other photo organizers out there. And with that, I'm going to let you say a few things too, Caroline. You go ahead and introduce what you'd like us to know.
Thanks, Molly. Yeah, great to be here as always. And I just, I started genealogy when I was just 17 years old. And I never really knew just how much information there was out there. I thought, I have a small family, it's just me and mom and dad. And I was always wondering like who else was out there. And I pulled on one string and it just unraveled everything. And it's just been so much fun to learn about myself and my history and then put the pictures in perspective and just put my entire existence in perspective. And I'm so passionate about that for other people too, because it really does change, who you think you are. It really does.
Yeah, where you came
Yeah.
from and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. How you got to where you are and all that. So yeah.
And then
It's
what you're
just
gonna
so fun.
leave people too, what you're gonna
Yeah.
leave behind.
Yeah.
It just resonates with me completely. You might you might be surprised. I I really was like this with genealogy, early on,
Mm.
especially with Pixology. My former business partner, co-founder Anne, she was always, really, really interested for her personal self. And it's only as we saw how much genealogy materials came with the pictures that it was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, got to know something
Yeah.
about this too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
It's hard to separate the two. It really is.
Hmm.
And I think um they just go together so well. They're just, two related fields. And that's kind of what I, had planned on sharing with you today. It's like, because you had asked me that one time, and I just think one sort of uh just leads to the other. It's just a natural segue.
Hmm. So, when you think about that, why do people need both? Why do they need both genealogy and the pictures?
Yeah, yeah. Because you don't get the complete story without both of them. That's at least like how I see it, right? So if you have the photo, but you don't know the story or the people or the history behind it, then you're not getting the full picture. And, if you know names and dates, yeah, that's great. But if you have a picture, like it just comes to life, right? So I just feel like you need both to have that complete picture of what's going on of the history and the context. So I just think it's really important to dive into both. And
Mhm.
you can attack it from either angle, right? You can start with the photos or you can start with the genealogy, but they really do go together.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually was thinking about this. A f- it's kind of a fun story. I think, sometimes people think genealogy, if they're not interested, they're bored. But once you start diving in, like there's some fun things that you can really like discover and like aha moments. So if it's all right, I'm gonna just share my screen and
Yeah.
tell you like why what you just said makes so much sense. So we
Oh,
we're looking at Wenzel and Antonia Maliki. And this really is the only picture that we have of them. And our client was really interested in kind of going back further because not only did the Maliki family have some historical significant moments, they purchased land out in the Great West Land Rush, and there's documents that made that really interesting. And we had this picture of them, but we also knew that Wenzel's father, uh, we had his name. It was either Vaclav or Wenzel. They went by both, and his mother's name. But we had no photos, and we got on the Tyler, one of our Pix Tech here, he has some interest in genealogy, so he did a little bit of background. And well, let me just point out. Here's Vaclav's his grave. That's all we had of a photo for him. And so
yeah.
Tyler went and did some little bit of digging, and he found this photo right here in a newspaper article from 1990. Apparently, the town was having some sort of exciting thing. And now we have Wenzel right here. He's identified, right in the caption. And we have his dad and his mom sitting right there. We now know who these people are. And well, let me rephrase that. We know what they look like. So just like, and here's that newspaper from 1990. Who, you really kind of have to dig to go back to find some of this, as you have so much experience in. But now with the little restoration, we have some photos, to put to help tell the story. And so that's my like little exciting thing. As there, are often many things that you come across. So I don't know. Caroline, do you have a fun story or something?
Yeah, I do. Boy, do I. I have many
Okay, I
that I
bet.
can share. Yeah, I do. But I can share some of my favorite ones. And well, for me personally, um, I had hit a brick wall with my 3 times great grandfather, who had, an illegitimate son, basically. My what is it, 2 times great grandfather. The numbers always get me, all that. Um, and for the longest time, I thought like I would never find anything on that generation because it was just this mystery. But then combining DNA with a little bit of digging just did the trick. And through testing basically a descendant of one of his siblings, I could confirm the connection to me. So we knew that it was the right father, right? And then on top of it, with a bit of digging, I actually found a picture of his sister. And yes, it's not him, but she had lived a very long life. I never thought I would see anybody from that generation. That's another generation back, like further back. And pictures back then weren't common, right? So I just never thought there would be anything out there, but sure enough, there was. And you can see, the family resemblance to my family members. And so we were able to see like, yeah, that's definitely the right connection. And I was able to get through that brick wall because of that. So all these modern techniques, combined with some of that photo organizing, and digging, really put the whole story together. So that was a big moment for me personally. And of course, for clients, I mean, my gosh, where do I begin? We found living siblings to somebody who thought he was an only child, right? That was a big one. And then, of course, my client Neil, who I love so much, actually did a YouTube video with him that's all over on my channel. Didn't know much about his grandfather, I believe, and that side of the family, and we were able to not only find what happened to him, but traced it all the way back to Norway. He actually went to Norway, met his distant relatives, and then gifted me a beautiful book, a photo book that he created of the reunion of that family, that sort of long lost sibling that emigrated and they never heard from again. So I did an interview with him, and just hearing his story and seeing it all come together, over time was just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lots of memories like that.
And, we really want, both you and I really want for more people to enjoy that journey. So
Yeah.
do you have like 3 pieces of advice that's to get someone, started either way?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely. I think the biggest thing with genealogy, and you know this, of course, is to limit your scope because it snowballs just so quickly, right? And so you start pulling at one thread, and all of a sudden, this whole big yarn unravels, and you're like, oh no, what direction do I go in? But I think it's so important to stay on message and stay focused, and start with one question and get that answered sort of before you move on to the next topic, because it can go in all different directions. So limiting that scope and knowing that you can get to all of it, it's just that one step at a time, because otherwise you'll be pulled in so many different directions. um, and then of course documenting everything from the start, because there's so many do-overs in genealogy. People get so excited, they find so much information, but they don't actually take the time to document or write it down. And then you think you're going to remember, but of course you don't, because there's just so much information. And you need to be able to backtrack that, right? You need to be able to know where that came from, because through your journey, you will be hooked, I promise you. You're going to find more and more information. And so you need to know where it came from so that you can go back and contrast that with information you found before and what that source was like and all of that. So just documenting from the start and having a system and staying organized, as you know, Molly, is just it's it's big. It's very, very big. It's very big. And then you kind of avoid all those do-overs. Yeah, and then I think starting with a photo is actually a really good piece of advice. It's like maybe you have that one photo and you don't know the full story of the person who's in it, or maybe you don't know the name or whatever it happens to be. I think that's actually a really good place to start. And I don't think we've talked about this, Molly, but I actually teach a technique called PBO, project-based organization, where we
I
actually
just saw that.
start,
I'm like,
yeah, we start
what?
with those photos and all of that, and we actually go in and get the full story, and then we organize based on that. So that's another additional way that you can approach something that's not so overwhelming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just saw your blog post on that. And I'm gonna put a link in there because that was like PBO. That is new to me.
It sounds like a sandwich, right?
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
No, we'll put a link in there for sure. Well, I I just really can't say enough about the experience of working with you, especially when we look back at Jen's project.
Yeah,
Your team helped really track down her Polish heritage. And I mean, it's history, like history unfolding that our ancestors experienced. So,
yeah, we had fun on that one, didn't we?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I like really believe if there's one thing that I can say about any of this, whether it's genealogy or photos, is you need to start today. Like start today with a plan to finish what you can, because literally tomorrow it could be too late. And Jen, our client, she was 80, when she finally got dived in and learned as much as
yeah,
she could about her Polish background without physically like going town to town. But she
yeah,
passed away last summer, and she was so thrilled with what she had accomplished. Her family like knew how passionate she was about saving the history, And all of those stories have been saved because she cared and she made it
Mhm.
happen, you know? So people
Yeah.
really don't wait, because a family member could be gone tomorrow, the one that knew the stories you needed to write down.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good point, actually, the good lesson for anybody in that, sometimes you might think there's nothing out there, but usually there is. You might just not know where to find it or like where it is, right? But with that project, we saw that. It's like we were hesitating, seeing like, are we actually going to find something here, or is that gone? Because Poland has been, in border changes, and they've had some instability and wars, and there's this and that, right, in Eastern Europe. But we did find stuff,
mm,
once we started digging. So it's, don't assume that there's nothing out there,
yeah.
because there usually is if
Mm.
you look close enough. It took some time, but we got there.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that was 2 years of spending time with her, on and off, and then the researchers are fantastic. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh my
And
gosh.
Molly, can I ask you to hold up the book, and can we talk about the book for just a second too? Because we didn't really mention that.
Yeah, let me show you where you are. Let's see. You're in the forward, and yeah, this was quite a few years ago before the pandemic started that I spoke with you about this, and
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
excited to see it come to life. So
Yeah,
much fun.
and I really, really, being someone who is genealogy wasn't my first interest. I don't, I don't want to say it. I had a family member who did all of the genealogy on my mother's side, and I thought, okay, it's done. But that was just a packet of papers that had no, there were stories, but there were no photos. So,
Mhm.
having worked at Pixology and seeing like the value of having the pictures come together,
Yeah.
um, I actually really think this book is perfect for someone who's never thought about doing genealogy. The first section of the book is really about organizing the photos first, to
Mhm.
find the old pictures. Might not
Yeah.
be PBO, but we share the system that we organize the photos, and from there a lot of times as we're organizing photos we're writing out the family tree, on a large
Agreed.
sheet of paper with the notes and the dates. We are
Yep.
able to give the client back, something that has a lot of, tentacles to go investigate. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm hoping that it will help people who hadn't thought about putting those two together before.
Yeah, and that's some of my favorite projects that I've done have been creating those family charts and actually putting those old pictures with the names, because otherwise it's just a tree, and yes, that's lovely, but like if you can actually put the pictures in there, I mean, it just takes on a whole different life, you know? So those have been some of my favorite projects where we've had those old photos and nobody knew who was in them, and then we were able to figure that out. Like that's just
Mhm.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's an honor to see that come together.
Hmm. It's almost like you're, restoring a piece of history, right? That's been forgotten. Like
Mhm.
that's what it feels like.
It's
And everybody deserves to be remembered, you know?
yeah. You're so right. I love that you're restoring history. My when Jen saw her completed organization and she could look on her she used an iPad to look at her pictures, I think.
Yeah.
Sometimes her computer, and then she had books, but she said, "You've restored my life."
Mm.
But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
history. For me, it's like restoring what I did 2 weeks ago. Like, if I don't have a picture of something. So, that's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
part of it. Mhm.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I have a genealogy class that we've had some students in that have not known anything at all about where they came from for various reasons. You know, they haven't either had the opportunity to ask their parents because they'd either passed or didn't want to share or whatever reason, you know, they just didn't know much. And then just to see their journey and the excitement when they find a document that shows something new that they didn't know. And I mean, those wins, I live for those types of wins. You know, like that's the best email I ever get. It's like, I found it. I can't believe I found it. You know, it's just, it's so amazing. It's
Mhm.
so much fun. Um, and just seeing how that changes the perspective of people. Yeah, it really is special because it's like reading a really, really great novel, except it's about you,
Yeah, and
like a page turner, you
I
know?
know, and I think kids need to kind of see their place in all of this too. I mean,
Yeah.
society's just moving so fast, and nobody has a sense of their historical connection anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and especially with all the tensions in the world and everything that's going on. And when you do genealogy, you start to realize like, oh no, we're all connected. It's just a matter of when. It's really not a matter of if. It's really all there. So you have a different type of kinship with people and a
Mm.
different type of connection. Like it doesn't mean that just because you've never been somewhere that there's no connection. Like you have a connection to the place. You just not you're not knowing what that is just yet. And finding that is just so much fun.
Mhm. That's true.
Yeah.
So, for the people who are watching this later, Caroline, what's the best place for them to check out your resources?
Yeah, so I think the best place to start is organizingphotos.net. That's my photo organizing blog, and that's kind of a portal to a lot of the resources that we have. I have courses and classes and things like that, workshops, and it's mostly all linked there. So that'd be a great place to start. And we have a lot of articles on various topics and a lot of free resources as well. So
Mhm. I love
that
that.
that'd be a good place.
I love all of the resources, and you're like meticulous on, documenting how to use things and all of that. I really admire that. So definitely people check out the descriptions below and you can go see all that she has to share. And if you're looking for the book, you just go to Amazon and search for Molly Bartelt. That'll bring up the books, and you look for the one with genealogy and saving your family history. And really, we just wanted to kind of step behind the book and
Yeah.
for Carolyn and I to chat. I mean, we've known each other a long time, but this may be the longest we've spent talking together in a row.
I know. Let's not be the last for sure.
Absolutely. I did find a photo of us I don't want to say many years ago. I don't know how long. And oh, I actually do have it here. I'm going to share it.
Oh dear. Hey, oh, I
I
think
am
you
muted
muted yourself.
myself.
There you go. Yeah.
Shows you what quick clicking does. So let me share this photo. This is I think from about 7 years ago. It's just there you and I are. And
There we are. Yeah, that looks like a conference, doesn't it?
one of the conferences, yep. So I would have forgotten that I saw you there.
Must be probably 2015 or something like that.
Yeah, I would say
My
so.
guess. Yeah. Hmm.
Well, Carolyn, thank you so much for joining me on this call. I'm sorry for those of you who are looking for it live. We'll be doing something together again in the
Yeah,
near future, hopefully,
definitely.
and we'll answer questions. You can post questions down below if you like, and then we'll answer them. And that is it for now. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you the next time. And then I'll just stop recording.